I'm going to try to keep this short, sweet, and to the point. I've been sitting here for the last couple of days, involved with a number of projects and works and various things I have to do as a person who wants to just move past what they currently are. And in doing all of these things, I always go back to that same classical resolution that you can distract yourself with as much work as you want, but you are still going to have this inner aching relating to not being in a relationship or not having the types of relationships you would like to have. Uh, and I am very convinced it's not just me who feels that way. And there is um, something very disturbing to me, which is that I've sat here and I've had a number of subscribers who will sit in these live streams. You look at Envoy or O'Donohue or VVS or um, anyone else that whose name is escaping me right now. And what you'll have to realize is that with many of those subscribers, they seem to be decent. They don't have anything you could go and fault them for just off of speaking to them. They kind of appear to have some logic behind what they're saying. Nerdbama says, "Me too." Yeah, join the club. Um, but I thought to myself, they will never receive the vindication that in the current era women get all the time. Now, let me elaborate a little bit on that. So, for example, if I were um, a female and all I did was turn the camera, complain about the men around me, and say, "Oh, none of them have, they're not acting like men. They don't have their own stuff, whatever." I would have loads and loads of comments from women saying, "Yeah, I agree. Good men aren't around anymore. These men need to get their act together." And you wouldn't have men go over there and say, "You're so awful because X, Y, and Z." And if you did, you would have males go after that guy along with females. There'd be a coalition of people going after a man who criticized a woman for complaining publicly about the current climate of dating. And I guess as I've done more of these and seen more people sit in here and kind of feel the same way I do, it's really validated or sort of made me feel vindicated in what I say because I've realized it's not just me. Now, CX April says guys like us don't appeal to many women until they want to settle down in their 30s. Well, there's kind of a double-edged sword to that because I keep having this thing where I like to make predictions and make estimates of where I am in life in 10 or whatever years. And by the time that comes, I don't want anything to do with someone who I'm fairly convinced would have just said no back then. You don't get to have me wait a decade or so. And this is me just waiting on one person, but just in general, because I've actually seen that, and they get turned down by males that feel they were kicked to the curb when they were in their younger years, and were actually the male was willing to settle down. Let me say hello to Envoy. So the other part of this is that what I want every subscriber to understand, and I also can comprehend. CX Airable says, "Yeah, I'm not picking up after where other dudes left off." I agree, but I also want to be understood. Nerd Bama, it depends on how old they are. So if one of them is, an infant, and it also depends on what the status of the father is. I'm not going to have a dispute with someone over their offspring. It's not my game to play. Um, but also, Nerd Bama, you have to remember something. If if they really wanted to go back and not have to worry about their dating life after having children, guess what they could have done? Not had any until they were sure they wanted to stay with the guy. Okay, Envoy says not sure what the topic is here. Well, we're talking about a number of truths that we have to admit and we can't keep pretending aren't around. And one of the truths is that I am very much disillusioned with um, the climate of women, and as years go by, it's harder and harder and harder for me to just keep saying to myself, "Oh, it's all me," because I did that for a while, um, and now I've had many other users who will come on here and share my sentiments. I think to myself, you have these commenters. They're really trying to tell us it's all just us being these incessant, ridiculous, non-desirable males. It can't have anything to do with the current climate of women. It's just the guy's fault entirely. And also, I want you to understand, in many of these instances, they talk about, men's standards. But as I mentioned to you before, I can name multiple examples of where I've chosen to compromise many of my views and beliefs and then still have that person go, oh, I don't want to do this. So, an example would be a woman who had a problem with religion. I told her, hey, look, uh, what I don't care. And then I even offered to convert. She said, "Oh no, I don't want to." And I said, "Well, you're effectively squeezing me out. So you've basically been lying that you ever had any interest in me because if you did, you would not mind that compromise." Which her response was that supposedly by trying to plan a relationship with her, it was more so doomed to fail than that of those that are just allowed to naturally happen. And I said to her, if that were true, if supposedly just doing it without thinking that far ahead in the future was the right way to go, why do you have all of these children that have no father walking around? Why do you have all these single mothers popping up all over the U.S.? Okay, Nerd Bama says if you could build the perfect woman for yourself, what would be her major attributes, everything from her skin tone to her overall personality? Um, I mean, the same ethnicity as myself, and just I don't believe in the okay VVS says, but if you just wanted to get quick in the bedroom, you would be successful. Yeah, they have hookups in college where people will just go to parties and go, well, her chest looks nice, and she'll go, well, his face looks nice. Let's jump in the on the mattress and get this over with. Okay, Marco asked, how do you know when you're in a relationship unless you ask? Yeah, I don't understand them either. Um, but going back to what Nerd Bama asked about how do you, what would be the perfect one? I don't believe in that personally, but ideally, I know this exists because I've seen it before. Someone that's my ethnicity, um, I guess, even if they're not politically minded, would still not mind talking about it, or at least would be open to hearing it. Um, and maybe lives in my state or somewhere that's within the U.S. But as I've stated before, I don't mind going to other regions except for North Korea. And I guess that's the basic gist of it. And it's sad because that same woman that I spoke with had those attributes, other than not living in the U.S. But I didn't care. So there goes a compromise. She was a religion that I wouldn't have preferred. There's another thing, I'm compromising. I didn't care, and still get turned down. Now, CX Sabre says all you can ask for is that she's emotionally mature and that you're physically attracted to her. Yeah, I thought a lot of them were mature. Actually, it's kind of amusing that you say that because you have to ask yourself this: if women, by and large, in American society were so mature, why do they keep jumping in bed with men and then having these children that don't have a father? That's maturity to you? Oh, this person looks nice. Let me, go and wrap myself around with them. That's maturity. And listen, I will contend there are mature women, there are mature men, there are immature men, and there are immature women. There are bads on both sides. But whenever I talk about a group of people, and I, note that there are exceptions to that rule, you have these commenters who will leave this, stuff. I was discussing the transgender a while back, and I had someone leave some comments about uh, why do you are disrespectful to transgender people. I didn't even bother to answer them back because when you start off a conversation that way, let me say hello to O'Donohue, you're not able to. really go into anything. I elaborated multiple times in that stream. I don't have a problem with that group when it comes to just interacting with them, talking with them. It's the same as having any dating preference. You don't care about, that group in particular. You have nothing against them, but you would rather not be with someone of that background. I don't see what the problem with that is, but the social justice warriors have struck again. VS says, I seen this girl who just turned, yeah, no, in the picture. It's sad how PC not we've become that we have break down everything not to offend. It's also irritating because that when and also just kind of to show you the level of irrational, not mature behavior that these people have, just both genders. Um, yeah, I agree with El Donahue. Everyone has some kind of dating preference, but to again illustrate the point I'm making, that same transgender, if you recall, was upset with me because of what someone else said. Hopping on the phone, the other guy's with me. He says something about, you're really a man or whatever, and then hangs up. I try to call them back. They say something racist about this guy, ironically calling him the incorrect race, but nonetheless, um, and then chooses to start sending me these and this is not, we're going to get into this on another stream in the next couple of days, these really nasty text messages calling me out of my name and insulting me, and then gets upset after I do the stream. And I said to her, him slash her, hey, what did you expect? You're supposed to be able to insult me after I did nothing to you other than answer your random out of nowhere call, um, and now I'm the villain. So, but again, think of the level of irrational behavior here. You insulted me after someone else said something. A grown man, I can't control what comes out of his mouth. I had no way of. It's not like, we're doing a stream and then he writes something and she writes something where I can just go and delete it. Um, but think about this. You are upset with me over what someone else said, and then insult me, then get upset when there's a stream with you getting insulted, um, for something that is true, which is that you're still physically a male. But again, that would have never happened if he hadn't insulted me. Could have hung up the phone. I wouldn't have cared. But you don't start calling somebody all kind of names and text and expect me to just sit there and go, well, she insulted me. Let me just sit on my lap and pretend nothing happened. That's not realistic. Weeks of texting. Okay, let me read what Kilo Abrams. A woman that I was chatting with for weeks. Reject what they meant, looks to trying to waste time. I am totally frustrated now. Sick of chasing women. Tons of realistic pictures on it. So I knew it's such a waste of time. Weeks of texting. Oh yeah, that resonant. Hey, anyone remember the what was it? What was that thing she did with the if you guys remember the meditation and confession, that was the exact same thing. She goes on this website saying, I want somebody to meet and maybe develop something with, and then I go over there, I say hello, whatever. She sees what I look like, still keeps talking to me, doesn't respond to my messages for a couple of days because of her supposed inability to remember things. Then I say, okay, well, we can just be done with this. Oh no, here's my number. And then within weeks of that, decides to just cut it all off together after she goes through something that I couldn't control, her meditating. So it's really hard in the pres. I really believe that a number of these encounters are just people not wanting to actually build anything. They just want to sit there and entertain the thoughts of, with talking to someone. CX Sable says it sucks because you can't tell if a woman is waste of your time until it's too late. If okay, Kilo, I can't pronounce her name. She was totally fantastic when texting. Answered me, act totally mean into me. Then in person, nothing, just rejection. Yeah, that's what I hate about people who want to resort to texting because, I've noticed there's a disconnect where they will have these personalities that are kind of, I guess, timid or otherwise a little reserved when speaking to you over the phone or seeing you in person, and then when you get to writing, they just start putting out all manners of evil in what they're typing to you. It's a bizarre correlation. I've seen it happen multiple times now. And then when you get them on the phone, oh well, I didn't in it. And then in text, okay, CX Herbal says the problem for me is that I can't tell whether I'm doing something wrong or the person I'm going after is in the wrong. I think it's I'm doing wrong by even still bothering to talk to them, and I think the person is doing wrong for acting the way that they did. I mean, you have people who just sometimes I think they have what do you call it, multiple personalities, and they switch one every 2 or 3 weeks. The first one you met the first 2 weeks really wants to know you. The second one's kind of indifferent. The third one is just kind of whatever. Yeah, but Saberwolf, the instinct to blame yourself only started when you and I and all these other users were told over and over again, it's you, you're the problem. I want you to think about this. I could walk to um, I don't know, my nearest mall or any other gathering of just people my age and just go and talk to 20 or 30 different women, ask them for their number, get turned down by each of them, come back here and have someone online say, "Yeah, you got what's coming to you. You over there trying to message all those people at one place." You can't win because if you sit at home or you don't go out there, they say, "Oh, well, you didn't get anybody because you didn't bother to put yourself out there." But then if you go out there and get turned down over and over and over again, you still have people saying, "Well, what did you expect? You were supposed to do it that way anyway." But you weren't even there. Social media has inflated basic looking women's ego. Yeah, well, we've been over that before. But this is the ugly truth. I want all of you to understand. There is no way um, out of this. I'm sure there might be maybe five, six, I guess a little slightly higher number of women that don't act this way. But for all I can tell, I can't find them. I know that they exist because people wouldn't, actually still get together if this were just what happens, where all they do is, play around, and then when it comes time to actually do something together, run for the hills. But I hope that this has shown you the level of just ridiculousness and hopefully, really illustrated the point I'm making here, which is that you have a group of people who just don't want to do anything. And, there might be some that do, but they're far few and in between. Deal with crawling. If someone thinks I'm doing something wrong and indirectly judge effort, share their opinion with me. Okay, I don't know what Bry is uh, trying to say, but uh, yeah, well, Saberwolf, we've tried to do that for VVS, no signs of progress or improvement. Yeah, with in response to both of those comments, we've tried to pretend it's not going on. I've tried to pretend it's not going on. Um, and I don't feel it's working. All I can do is just keep pumping out all of the goals I want done, and then you know just be through with living at that point. Um, because if you can't have, here's the thing. I think in life there are two basic satisfactions you can have. One is with the people around you, so just all of your relationships, and the other one is relating to your achievements or just things you want to do before you pass or die or whatever. So if I can't have the relationship part because women of today are too busy getting with men that can't see past next week or next month or some other third thing, I just have concluded that I'll go out and get these various projects done. I've wanted for a long time to do documentaries. I've wanted for some time to discuss a couple of other issues, and I'll wrap that up and do the other little parts of things in my personal life, and then be finished. Um, I won't hold ill will toward an entire group of people because I haven't interacted with the entire group of people, but I'll have disillusion, um, a small amount of contempt and distaste for those that I did interact with and those that I did try to directly speak to and make something with that couldn't see past again next week or next month. And I just hope that the people who have followed this content do their objectives in life. And, if you still see someone that you think looks nice, go out and, say hello, make the attempt. Because remember, if she says no, you can smile and you can say, well, I tried. Uh, and that's been kind of my own platform at this point, where I can talk about being over and being done, but I'm just tired. I'm just done with feeling awful for the decisions that other people made. So it's not an ideal situation by anyone's desire, but it is a circumstance that we have to make adjustments toward. And maybe this can be a thing where we can say, well, I wasn't able to appeal to chicks of the present era, but I was able to go and do these things I wanted to see done, or get to some amount of wealth or some other accomplishment. And look, if someone asks you, why don't you date? Why don't you, try? Why don't you explain to them, I did try and I did attempt and I did go out of my way, but I can't push um, beyond my limit. And, I decided at whatever age I am that I couldn't waste any more time trying to go and, you know, push them to do things they didn't want to do. No, it's not about giving up. Look, I'm committed to finishing the various things I want to see done on this channel, my own life, just completely. But as far as sticking your neck out for this group, I'd rather not. Now, if I go somewhere and you happen to see one, might say hello. But I've had the same isolationist type tone for the past almost 2 years at this point. If you see someone, you might feel tempted to go out and do it if you want to. But if you don't get it and she says no, don't feel bad. You tried. Again, what else can you do? So I'm not mad at Envoy for saying that, but well, not even that. Saberwolf, don't quit. Just don't take it to heart. Here's how you do it. Resign yourself to the idea that there are things you cannot change. Just do that and say that that is applicable to the hearts of other people, but that in terms of your own life circumstance, if you work hard enough for it, you might be able to do it. So, for example, the guy who wants to get a billion subs on YouTube, might make it to where he has all the time to go and make a bunch of various videos on here, and he might be sad about women not liking him, but he can't make them change their mind. He might go out and tempted to say hello to them, and he'll do it. Kilo says it's crazy. You are, yeah. I mean, I generally just hold this camera up here, but I'm not overweight. I'm not. I don't have any kind of physical supposed abnormality. I'm 6'2". I have no problem with my own appearance. But I can see that I think it's more a case of just they don't care. It doesn't matter. Don't buy into the myth of, if you look this one way, then you're screwed. Also, that's nonsense. Because I have my best friend who is 5'7" or 5'8", um, was told it was because of his height he couldn't get anyone, and I told him that's a load of trash. CX says there was a study done where women rated average men below. I'm sure. Guys that are 7 and 8s have to get with women that are ones and twos, and then women who are ones and twos can, aspire for 11s and 12s, just on a 20 level bracket. So it's all discombobulated.